What's up guys, it's Tom here and we are days, maybe weeks away from getting the verdict on Manchester City's 130 charges, and it's very likely that they will get relegated and they will get a huge, potentially 100+ points deduction for this season, and I'm really looking forward to it. We have a major update in this video for you guys about Manchester City's case because they launched another massive attack on the Premier League rules. So we will give you guys all the details, and this is another PR campaign by Manchester City trying to paint themselves as a victim by some journalists who are getting paid very handsomely by Manchester City. Martin Samuel and Matt Lawton and some other journalists are getting big fat bags of cash from Manchester City to peddle and push their PR campaign, so they are painted in a fair or in a better light, but I'm here to debunk this, and I'm here to give you guys the true story. So if you enjoy these, make sure to subscribe, leave a like if you are enjoying these, and also you can support me on Patreon so I can get more and more of these stories out to you guys, trying to cover the story in full detail. And also yesterday Arsenal dropped 2 points against Everton by a very controversial Everton penalty, which at first look I don't think it was a penalty. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's a penalty or not? But anyway, the bottom line is Arsenal dropped another 2 points. So Liverpool could take another giant step towards winning the Premier League title if they beat Fulham today. So let me know your score predictions in the comments below. And Adam Joseph is reporting or saying that, after Manchester City again accused the Premier League of distorting rules in Arsenal's favor, and this is a new legal claim submitted by Manchester City, which Matt Lawton covers in the Times, and we will get the whole story. But first I wanted to tell you that Man City don't need to do this, because if they believe that they are innocent and they are not and they are going to be found not guilty for the 130 charges, this is a mitigation strategy on their behalf. This is a PR campaign, and this is throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, because this is a PR campaign to paint themselves as victims. It won't be the last of it, particularly in the very near future. Their media lackeys, as Adam Joseph calls them, the journalists who are paid by Man City to write these articles, so Man City are painted in a better light. Matt Lawton, Martin Samuel, Keegan, and they are doing Man City's bidding. We have seen it already. So this is the end game now. We are very close to the verdict. That's why more and more of these stories are coming out. And Matt Lawton writes in the Times that Man City accused the Premier League of distorting rules in Arsenal's favour, and document also names Brighton, Everton and Leicester as beneficiaries of rules around shareholder loans that it claims affects Premier League's competitive balance. So Man City have accused the Premier League of distorting the competition in favour of Arsenal and other rival clubs who have benefited from huge loans from their owners. So Man City have issued another attack on the Premier League's attempt to amend sponsorship rules declared unlawful and void by an independent tribunal. In a new statement issued by Man City to an independent tribunal, Man City complained that Arsenal, as well as Brighton, Everton and Leicester, have had an unfair advantage. Man City claim that shareholder loans, where the owners of the club lend the club's money, they are worth hundreds of millions of pounds at those 4 clubs, have not been treated the same as other associated party transactions, such as sponsorship deals with companies linked to club owners. However, the tribunal concluded that those rules were void and unenforceable, and Man City now argue that there needs to be a return to the pre-2021 rules until these matters are fully resolved. They argue, which the Premier League, sent in their latest claim, that the amended rules continue to discriminate. Man City argue that they fail to meet the requirements of transparency, objectivity, precision, and they are liable to distort competition. I mean, I have to interject here. For Man City to have the cheek to blame the Premier League rules for distorting competition, but it is themselves who are distorting the competition by the Man City owners illegally funneled money into Man City, more than 1.5 billion pounds. That's 1,500 million pounds that Man City spent since their owners took over, and most of them were spent illegally through artificially inflating the sponsorship deals that they had, and also signing like hundreds of millions of pounds of players, and then discarding them when it didn't work, and then assigning another 50, 60, 70 million pound player. Jack Grealish is the perfect example. Which other team could sign a 100 million pound footballer for them to sit on the bench most of the time and to not score? In 1.5 years of Premier League football, Jack Grealish didn't score one goal. Last time he scored was the first time in 1.5 years that Jack Grealish scored, 2023 December and 2025 April. This was the 2 times that Jack Grealish scored a goal in the Premier League, and he's a 100 million pound player, and Man City can sign these players and eat the loss because they are illegally funded by Abu Dhabi and the Man City owners. So remember that Matt Lawton is back getting paid by Manchester City, and he's saying that the key to Man City's claim is the argument that the Premier League's attempt to change the APT rules after its latest legal defeat is unfair because they treat shareholder loans differently, adding that the clubs who utilize that form of borrowing are benefiting from an unlawful exemption. Man City, who launched their initial legal challenge last year after 2 Abu Dhabi-related sponsorship deals were blocked by the Premier League. They make the broader point that the Premier League should not change rules that have already been declared void, and they were too hasty in its response to the previous verdict. These deals were blocked by the Premier League, these sponsorship deals, because they were overinflated. Man City just tried to funnel money into themselves to try to weather the storm when they eventually hopefully get relegated into lower leagues. They would need a lot of money to get through that period, and they wanted to inject cash in advance, and the Premier League blocked those rules, and rightfully so. But Man City went even further. They also attacked the 50-day grace period given to clubs to convert shareholder loans into equity spending, while also criticizing the Premier League for claiming that shareholder loans do not need to be assessed for fair market value in the same way as other associated party transactions. There is a detailed breakdown of the shareholder loans at other clubs, Man City's point being that it gave them an unfair advantage in complying with PSR rules. Man City claimed that Arsenal benefited from shareholder loans of £259 million in the 22-23 season. But what about Man City benefiting from their owners illegally inflating sponsorship deals by hundreds of millions of pounds over the years? So Man City say that the differential treatment means the rule changes do not eliminate, but on the contrary, perpetuate the discriminatory and distortive treatment previously found by the tribunal. Man City added, discontinued preferential and discriminatory treatment of shareholder loans has the object and effect of distorting economic competition between member clubs on affected markets. I mean, for Man City to have the cheek to even claim this is astonishing and disgraceful. Man City also take aim at the flawed and inadequate manner that the Premier League has tried to retroactively assess the free market value of these shareholder loans. It is Man City's view that independent experts should have been consulted. Instead, the Premier League, Man City claim, is relying on 2 part-time, non-exclusive executive Premier League board members to carry out this technical and specialist task on their own. The same tribunal will rule on the latest challenge from Man City, with the Premier League potentially forced into making further changes to its financial rules while incurring yet more legal costs. The Premier League declined to comment when approached by the Times. The issue remains separate to the 130 charges brought against Man City by the Premier League for alleged breaches of financial regulations, but it could further erode the robustness of the system in place. The same team of lawyers are fighting both cases for Man City. At the time of the tribunal's first award, Richard Masters, the chief executive of the Premier League, insisted it could resolve the matter by making a small number of amendments to the APT rules. Man City's general counsel Simon Cliff urged the Premier League to hold fire until the tribunal had ruled on whether all the rules were now null and void or not, with Aston Villa echoing that view. In February, the tribunal declared all the rules void and unenforceable. Still, the Premier League argued, insisting the amendments were valid and enforceable. And every other club agreed with this, except Manchester City. Man City said this voidness means that the amendments are themselves void because it is not legally possible to amend rules that are themselves void, it claims. How can they claim that? Of course, the Man City are claiming this because it would favor them and not any other club. But the Premier League changed the rules because they had some technical issues. And yes, the tribunal voided some rules, but the Premier League changed it perfectly legally, and they are entitled to do that. And now the new rules are in place, which still limit Manchester City. Thankfully, they can't sign themselves up to hundreds of millions of pounds of worth of sponsorships, because that would be so unfair on the whole league. It would basically destroy the Premier League as a competition as we know it. And the Premier League is more exciting than ever. Like 10 or 11 teams are fighting to get into Europe this season, and that is absolutely fascinating. And I really, really hope that the Premier League stands strong and relegate Manchester City. Ian Noakes asks Adam Joseph, do you think Man City will keep fighting after the verdict or accept it and focus on rebuilding? At this rate, it seems they are trying to damage rival clubs and the Premier League as much as possible. These legal proceedings are costly, but Man City can sustain them for years. Depends on what the verdict indicates, Joseph answers. Smarter people than I that I've spoken to privately say that if it reflects poorly on Abu Dhabi and the owner Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, then they will fight this verdict with everything in their power. If it reflects poorly to fight on their behalf, then Man City won't fight the verdict. Cynically, I would always expect them to keep throwing money at it. It really needs to end now, another fan says. 130 charges, even if they are only found guilty of 10% of them, and some are more serious ones than others, this could still be a punishment never seen in the Premier League before. And while this drags on, it doesn't help Man City either. Until it's resolved, everything they win is tainted. Deep down, I'm sure Man City just wanted to put to bed so they can focus on their future. They've already started building a new team, and they have tied Haaland to a long contract. Contracts like those are easily voidable if they were signed in good faith, that if things changed, that was all part of the PR posturing that Haaland signed such a long deal. So Man City wanted to show the world that they are innocent, which they are not. Honestly, I don't think they care how long it drags on. Public opinion won't change all that much unless Man City are found 100% innocent, and that's almost 100% not happening. I would be absolutely shocked and astonished. I think people will be surprised at the extent of Man City's guilt when the verdict comes down. I can't wait for the punishment. It's a long time coming. And all of Man City's trophies should come with a big asterisk next to them. They have not won nothing fairly under Pep Guardiola, so anything they try to put forward as success is completely tainted. forever. And Man City have now properly commenced their PR campaign. That's the bottom line about this whole story. They are trying to mitigate damage for when they lose on the 130 charges. Their aim is to paint the Premier League as an agent of the red cartel, so they can insinuate they are a victim and not a perpetrator. Man City are so easy to predict, and many football fans already predicted that this will happen. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, come on Liverpool, let's win against Fulham. Goodbye, see you later.